The roar of the dragon. I like it a lot. Well, it's about time. I'm testing a Gilbern Invader here on Hubnut. It's the sports car built in Wales. We are in Wales today. And I've lived in Wales 15 years. Why has it taken this long to get around to doing a road test? I'm not sure. I guess I just wanted the right car. And this example, an ex-factory demonstrator finished in black tulip, is, I think, the perfect car. So this is a Gilbern Invader Mk3, and we'll get into the history in a minute, but I just want to point out what makes it a Mk3. It's a renewed front end with these Triumph 1300 indicator side light units and flared arches, because under the skin, much more of this car is from the Ford parts bin. Previously, Gilbern had been mostly using that of BMC, and by the time this one was built, that would have been British Leyland. So we've even got Ford Escort rear lights. Standard, we would have had two reverse lights, I think. One is now a fog light, and twin exhausts, hinting that we've got some pep under the bonnet. We will get there very, very shortly. But the Gilbern story starts in Wales in 1959, when Giles Smith and Bernard Fraser came together to create the Gilbern mark, it being made up of their first names. And so we've got Giles and Bernard there, and that's a nice owners club badge. But Gilbern came about because Giles wanted to build a sports car, and he approached Bernard, who had some experience in such matters, and was interested in making a special based on saloon car running gear with an aftermarket glass fibre body. Many were on the market during the 1950s. And Bernard had a better idea. He said, why don't we build our own car? And so they did, and that became the GT. But in 1966, the GT was replaced by the Genie, which introduced this more square-rigged style of body shell. And that was in turn supplanted by the Invader in 1969. And then this is the final Mk3 introduced towards the end, when Giles and Bernard were no longer involved with the company. So it's a very similar format to the Reliant Scimitar, in fact. We've got a Ford Essex V6 engine under the bonnet. The Genie was the first to use that engine. And fibreglass body atop a steel chassis, and we got a really well located rear axle. Panhard rod on this. Earlier, the Genie and I think the earlier Invaders had a Watts linkage. Watts linkage also used on the Scimitar. The key difference is Gilbern was trying to aim a bit more at market than the Scimitar. I've owned a Scimitar, and I hope Scimitar owners won't mind when I say they're a little low rent in places, especially the SE5. I think the SE6 was a little more plush, but the Invader was always aimed at the GT market. Despite being created by racing drivers, they wanted a car that would just sit effortlessly at like 100 miles an hour all day, and very much what they achieved with the GT and the Genie and Invader. Now, small companies always have issues with running costs, and Gilbern was no different. It was a struggle to actually make ends meet. The key distributor for Gilbern was this company, Ace Motors. Obviously, I would have got on well with Ace Motors. Here's their sticker promoting them as Saab and Daihatsu specialists in the early 1970s. I mean, Daihatsu only came to the UK market in 1966. But they reckon they sold something like 90% of Gilbern's production. This car has an even more interesting history. It was owned by Ivan Ostroff, a noted motoring writer. He bought this car only temporarily in the early 70s, just after Gilbern had gone through one of its lean periods where production had kind of ended. And he bought a press demonstrator, but this was regarded as a factory hack. But it has got the automatic gearbox, Borg-Warner Type 35 gearbox, which I've encountered in many cars before. Although the gear selector looks straight out of the Ford parts bin, doesn't it? But look at how well appointed we are in here. We've got wood on the dashboard, Gilbern's own steering wheel, and yeah, very, very high standard in here. It's mostly vinyl, actually, not quite leather, kind of leather effect. And on the outside, Triumph stag door handles. So there's the door. The doors actually bolt to the chassis. On a Scimitar, there's a steel hoop that the door is attached to. But apparently Giles Smith would frequently demonstrate the strength of the doors by hanging off them at shows. We're not going to do that, but fair to say, they are nicely fitted. It sort of feels really nice. So it's not a steel sort of a noise, but the fiberglass is very, very good quality. Really not prone to starbursts or cracks at all, because it's the chassis that takes the entire stress. The body really is just perched on top to look pretty. As a reminder, this car has been to Rustival and has been in a previous video report before it was repainted. So it's lovely to see it looking so good now. But the footwell is rather cramped. The Borg Warner 35 is a large gearbox. On the Rover P6, I used to own one with this gearbox. Much more wheel arch intrusion because it's a bigger gearbox. And yeah, no difference here. It is quite tight. You'd have a bit more room if it was the 4-speed manual with optional overdrive. But let's hop aboard. We've got these lovely shapely seats, very comfortable. Climb in, there we go, rev counter and the speedometer going up to 140 miles an hour. Ivan reckons he did once get 120 out of it on the way to Wales in the 1970s. Very, very naughty Ivan. I love how the handbrake is just curved to work its way around the transmission shifter. Again, that looks like it's straight out of a Ford of the time. A more modern head unit. We've got a mount for a mobile phone as well. I should probably take that cable out of the way. There we are. And then switches variously. Gilbern was one of the first manufacturers to adopt 4-way flashers, as they called them, hazard warning lights. And even the Genie was so equipped. We've got heater fan there. I don't know what that one is. Panel lights maybe. And I don't know what these two are either. Intriguing. I should have asked the owner. Wipers, we'll obviously get to. I wonder if that's screen wash. No, that's just a momentary switch for something. Maybe it is screen wash. Lights over this side. Very similar to switch gear. I think this is BMC. So maxi switch gear. Indicator stalk here. With a horn. Oh, yep, a good horn. We've got eyeball vents as well. And electric windows, which must be one of the switches. Are probably these ones here, I should think, are the electric window switches. That was quite an unusual feature for the 70s. But we've also got the iconic BMC BL door handles as used on Maxis and everything. So you lock it like so, and that's your unlock. So that's good. We've got tiny little door pockets. But like I say, look at that footwell intrusion. It is, yeah, quite extreme. Right, let's operate it. Oh yeah. Yeah, good electric windows. Screen wash. Yeah, I was right. And then 2-speed wipers. Look at that. That's the fast speed. And the wiping performance, good overlap. No triangle of doom, but yeah, they don't come very high up the windscreen, do they? And I suspect that when you're driving along, the water all gets blown up the windscreen. Earlier Invaders had the wipers parking in front of the driver, so that was less of an issue. And got a manual choke down here, and we've got more buttons here. That's your heated rear window. That's your heater fan, so I don't know what that one is. Oh, that's your cooling fan. I believe, I presume it's that light, actually comes on to tell you when the cooling fan is running automatically, but you can manually override it. Is that interior light? We don't have an interior light, I don't think, or we do, but it doesn't seem to work. So that might be what that is, incidentally, out of a Mark IV Ford Zodiac. But yeah, we probably need to get on the road, actually. Is that the electric aerial? I think it might be. They did have electric aerials, and then we've got a few extra random switches. We've no idea what they do. But yeah, you probably want me to actually start the engine. So here goes. Oh yeah, Gilbern made their own exhaust headers. Well, I think the entire exhaust is Gilberns. So yeah, sounds good. There's my cooling fan. So that's telling me the cooling fan is running. It's that one down there. And then we've got heated rear window. Jeepers, you know when that's on. And we've got heater controls variously as well, and a more modern head unit, because they do actually like to use the car. And a tiny little glove box, infrared temperature sender, very good idea. Another Ace Motors sticker in here. I will say rear space does look a bit tight, just enough room for a teddy bear, and I suppose I might fit in there. Should we give it a go? Yeah, that was a mistake. They're still a bit cramped in here. The seat is quite angled, so my legs are fully supported, but the seat is right in my knees, and it feels very claustrophobic back here. So I'm going to say, for someone who's 5'10", the back of a Gilbern is not the place to be. They did build one long wheelbase one in an attempt to try and create more space, and they never actually got it finished. It was meant to be at the 1973 motor show, but by then Gilbern had already gone bankrupt. But the car has since returned to the road, apparently. So that's good. I'm going to do a deeper look into Gilbern history in a future video, so stay tuned for that coming soon. So here is the Ford Essex V6 engine. Quite a bit of space in front of it. Nice big radiator with air scoop, and Gilbern proudly atop the engine. So it's 3 litres, 2,994cc, and in this form, with these lovely headers, around 140, 141 brake horsepower. So the vast majority were manual, and a manual would offer more sportiness, but given the company really wanted to producing high quality GTs, I think the automatic, whoa, there we go, into drive, is maybe not such a bad choice after all. But the big problem for Gilbern was pricing. This car cost as much to buy as a Jaguar XJ6 or a BMW 2002 or say an Alfa Romeo. It was not a cheap car at all. Previous to this mark, you could buy your Gilbern as a component car and assemble it yourself. It's called a component car, not a kit car, because you bought an entire kit of parts from the factory. Everything was brand new. A kit car, more typically, is your base bits, and you have to source the mechanicals yourself. But you got a fully trimmed, fully wired body shell ready to go. All you had to do was put everything together. But it certainly makes all the right noises, and it's not stupid quick, but it does get down the road relatively well, I think. Obviously the automatic gearbox does hamper it. The gearing is quite tall, so it's not geared for performance and speed. Glove box has popped open. But this example's got a lovely history to it. It belonged to the uncle of the current owner, and he remembers having to squeeze his bike past it in his nan's garage when he was a child. So his uncle owned it in the 1980s, and it was then bought by the current owner, and over a period of about 18 years has been restored to the condition you see today. So he hasn't had it on the road all that long, but he does do a lot of miles in it. He was in it for 7 hours yesterday. He lives in Cambridgeshire, nowhere near here, but has brought it over for a bit of a Gilbern meet tomorrow that I will be going along to. Cruising the Welsh countryside in a Welsh sports car. It is not the only car built in Wales. That's a common misnomer. The Frank Costin developed cars in Dolgellau up in North Wales, and a company called Darien still builds road legal performance cars here in Wales, near Lampeter, in fact, in Ceredigion. Oh, lusty. It's not a very heavy car, so it does mean it's got effortless acceleration. Whoa, really nice steering. The Mk3 Invader was much more BMC. Lots of MGB bits and an MGB rear axle. For the Mk3 Invader, because they could never get a discount on parts from BMC, they approached Ford. So we got Ford Cortina front subframe. We've got, and therefore steering. We've got a Ford Cortina rear diff out of a Cortina 2-litre estate apparently, which makes parts a bit of an issue. But parts not that bad for such a low volume company, and there's about 400 Gilberns built, but the club owns things like the original molds, and lots of original parts have been remade, so it makes Gilbern ownership not as painful as you might expect. Probably easier than a Daihatsu, amusingly. I've no idea what to stand this road, so let's take this road. But yeah, corners really flat, lovely turning, no assisted steering of course, so at parking speeds with a small steering wheel it is quite heavy, but as soon as you're moving it's got a lovely weight to it. My feet are somewhat crushed in this tiny footwell, but I mean, just listen to it, there's no rattles, there's no clonks. It's a really well put together car. Bernard Fraser went on to work for a noted glass fibre specialist company here in Wales, in Ammanford in Carmarthenshire, and that company still exists, Morgan Marine. And yeah, he really knew how to do glass fibre and make it very high quality. I don't think you would naturally assume it's a glass fibre car with the build quality of it. It's very impressive. In terms of boot space, you twist this handle and you lift this section, but they're on a weekend away, so it's a bit full. But yes, sadly by the time this car was built, the company was in rather dire straits. Where do I want to go here? Probably that way, I think. So we can do a standing acceleration test. That's 40 miles an hour before it changes into second gear, which obviously means it isn't that quick. It's a very tall first gear, but like I say, Gilbern really did want these cars to be GT cruising material. It wasn't out and out race cars. Quite a few Gilberns were used for competition. There was one GT, the first Gilbern, fitted with a 4.7 litre V8 engine. Unfortunately, the owner also used that engine in his powerboat, and the boat sank, and that was goodbye engine. But I believe that car does still exist now with alternative power. Watch out for flashes in the wild. Oh, that is a lovely noise. This isn't the first Gilbern I've driven. I've driven I think it was a fairly early Invader Mk3 as well. And what immediately struck me was the quality. It feels really well appointed. But unfortunately, Smith and Fraser sold Gilbern to a company that made one-arm bandit machines, amongst other things. And that company made the mistake of thinking, if we throw money at this company, we can expand production and make our fortune. They never did. Never did at all. So I've got to wait for the Dacia Duster. So I think it's about 141 brake horsepower from these engines, or 136 in stock form, but like I say, the better exhaust and breathing means they have got a bit more punch than you'd get in your Granada by this stage. Briefly, you could get the 2.5 litre on earlier Invaders, but or rather the Genie, but it was never a popular choice. This should be a faster road, I think. So perhaps we can actually get our foot down a bit and see what the performance is like. That's 60. Wow. Get a bit noisy now. Let's do those windows up. Oh yeah, a certain amount of wind noise, but yeah, plenty left at 60 mile an hour. We're doing about 3,000 revs, but into the bend. You do have to be a bit wary of them in the wet, unsurprisingly, with all that power and rear wheel drive, but in the dry like this. Yes. It's a bit of a clunky, not very quick to respond gearbox, but it actually suits the character very well indeed. Wow. This is truly living the dream, driving this Welsh sports car icon around the Welsh roads, keeping a very, very close eye on the traffic. Brakes need a good shove, which I remember well from my Reliant Scimitar as well. But she does stop, and now I must nervously sit here on a very high-speed road waiting to turn right. I'll take the Talgarrig Road. Oh, we got a hearse and limo combo. Hopefully just trying to get their timing right. We pay our respects. And then we hoon it. Oh yeah, I mean the ride is firm, but it's very well damped. And I don't feel like I'm being bounced around. There's a slight wheel wobble, the owner mentioned. He reckons he might have lost the wheel weight. So that is quite noticeable at speed. And because there's no power steering, there is nothing to dull the senses. So you can absolutely feel what's going on. Gilbern did try marketing an estate version of the Invader based on the Mark II that preceded this one. But it wasn't hugely successful. It just didn't have the grace of the Ogle designed Scimitar GTE. That really is a wonderful bit of design by Tom Carron, who was working at Ogle. Oh, this is just lovely. This is a perfect road. The roar of the dragon. I like it a lot. Well, there we go, folks. A very Welsh car tested in very Welsh Wales. Oh, almost some flag action going on. But yeah, hugely enjoyable drive. They feel really solid and robust in a way not all cars of this era do, given the very low production numbers, just around 400 cars. Hugely important piece of Welsh automotive history, and actually a really nice drive with a wonderful owners club as well. So huge thanks to Mark for letting me drive this absolute beauty. We've had our eye on this car for a lot of years. It's only been painted for a year. We've been waiting for it to be finished, and I'm very glad I did. Enjoyed it a lot. And thank you for watching. Like I say, there will be a further video coming on some Gilbern history fairly soon, but otherwise, see you in a future video. Farewell.